Yes. As much as I disliked going to court today, it seems to me that Collin County doesn't want to communicate with Jefferson County or the state of Washington. Yes. I had mentioned to my public defender, yes, that Exhibit A doesn't have the state seal and doesn't have the signature or the forgery of the ex officio Superior Court clerk. Yeah. And it didn't include the actual weapon surrender form, but it probably doesn't really matter. I thought it might because you never know in a trial, yes, if what you thought the evidence was actually changes. Now, I know that when I mentioned that it's an incomplete protection order that was not served on me, yes, in the Squim Public Library, by someone that is not the sheriff of Clallam County, yes, in front of all the library patrons so as to humiliate me in front of them, yes. I would have thought that my public defender would have been concerned about not having the actual evidence when admitting it as Exhibit A. But he wasn't. He's like, well, I just took it offline, and I thought, okay. But anytime that somebody's on trial, you would think that the evidence should be the actual document served on the individual. Yes. Should look just like it. Should have both parts. Yes. And that he should be informed that the proof of service was from the Swim Police Department or it was from some other individual that did not have the legal right to serve me in a. Now, I think that's fraud. Okay. Yesterday, I kind of talked about fraud of judgment. Yeah. Well, I'm in this situation where I don't want to find out that somebody decided to lock all my personal items in a house that I'm taking care of until the renter gets well from actually the blood ulcer that he had. Yeah. And since I gave the phone number to the property manager, if anybody wants me to move, make sure they call me first instead of forgetting about me staying there. Yes. Because it could be considered theft, harassment, and a number of other crimes. Ooch, landlord crimes. Now, since we're both waiting for Ron to get get well, oh yeah. I think it would be best that I went there this evening and I found the door unlocked because I made sure to make my bed this morning. I thought if anybody walked through, they could see that somebody was actually staying there. Had the authority of the property manager to stay there because he could have called me. Yes. And that he would give me adequate amount of time to remove my personal possessions. Yes. So that I could find a new location to stay at. I talked to somebody on the bus from Squim to Port Angeles. And she said that somebody gave her a bus ticket while she was sleeping on the beach. Yes. And said that the Serenity House was open. And when I found that out, I called immediately after I was on the next bus. Yes. To find out if they had the emergency overnight shelter open. Because they informed me they didn't because of funding problems. Now, I made quite a few videos about the homeless shelter. Now, is somebody handing out bus tickets to stranded women that are sleeping on the beach, thinking they'd get them up there and maybe take them underneath? Ooh, kind of helping them come to find out exactly what the problem is. Poach. Now, as an individual that has absolutely no problem moving, I just need an adequate amount of time to move my own personal items. I need no more surprises, harassment, torture, torment, or embarrassments on the parts of those that are in the sheriff's department. So if you know who the property manager is, would you mention to the individual that, as I said, as we had talked multiple times, you call me anytime, okay? I didn't get his phone number because I'm not the renter. I'm there because the renter is renting the place. Yes. And if he plans on evicting him, I'm sure the judiciary is able to facilitate that. We just don't go locking doors on people that have rental agreements, do we? Did I tell you about that time that Mike Van Proyen wanted me to leave the fifth wheel? Yes. Well, I was staying in the fifth wheel behind Kingsway Foursquare Church. And it was one of these situations where he asked me to move, and I said, yeah, I'd be happy to move. I got a check from my grandmother for $400, and Marilyn had cashed it in their personal bank account. Well, Mike and JR show up one day and said, Paul, we need you to move. And I said, Mike, I'm going to move. But I've actually done my 8 hours of volunteer every week. So I had paid for the right to be there, and I was working on finding a place to live. Yes, yes, yes. Now, there hadn't been any hot water in the fifth wheel for approximately 9 days. And I would have thought landlord tenant laws require you to have hot water, unless, of course, you are staying there with the intention of fixing the place up, doing some painting, cosmetic work in exchange for a place to sleep as you're working on the place. Because there's no rent required if there's no electricity or water. Yes, yes, yes. A lot of individuals, they actually stay on the job site while they're working on the place. Yes, they do. Well, Mike and JR decided we just turn the electricity off on him in the middle of winter and put a lock on the lockbox. Now, my thought is I do have a working understanding of landlord-tenant laws. Yes, yes, yes. And I just want to make sure that the sheriff and police departments, Port Angeles Police Department, yeah, that I am given the same respect as an individual who had moved in and was working with the individual known as the renter. Yes, has a rental agreement. Yes, that happened to have an emergency because of his bleeding ulcer. Yes. Now, I know that he had been on the phone with different facilities where he could have maybe checked in. And went through some rehabilitation or recovery or whatever it was. I wasn't involved in his personal decisions. But I do know that if you intentionally keep somebody's items in a residence where you had been informed, so let's not do this anymore, okay? Let's not fuck with people anymore.